You're listening to the Roundup Podcast, a podcast on reaching the college campus, developing leaders, and sending out kingdom multipliers. This podcast is created by the Southern Baptists of Texas Convention and provided through cooperative program giving.
Well, howdy, friends, and welcome to the Roundup Podcast. I am your host, Mitch Tidwell, and I have my co-host with me today, Kylie Badgley. Kylie, you doing okay today?
That was good until you locked on my shirt.
Hey, well, it looks very Kylie-esque, if that's the way to say that. I'm not sure. We are super excited about today's episode. We have Justin and Rebecca Smith, who Justin right now is the college pastor at Columbus Avenue Baptist Church in Waco. Recently, as of this, we're shooting this on July 1st. This past Sunday, him and Rebecca went to Redeemer Church in Lubbock to be presented before the church, and they're actually going to go to Redeemer here in the spring, and they're going to plant a church here in the next couple of years, and it's really super exciting to see what God is going to do with them. So without further ado, this is a podcast, the Roundup Podcast with Justin and Rebecca, and we're going to talk about the road to planting. And so we're going to follow them along and catch up with them probably every year or so just to see how they're doing as they're getting ready to plant a church on and near a college campus.
Good, man. How are you?
And we're really good. We're really super excited to have you guys on today. So currently, right now, we are recording this on July 1st, and Justin, you are the college pastor at Columbus Avenue Baptist Church in Waco, and You've been there how long?
This is my 6th year at the church, but my 3rd year, or just finished my 3rd year as the college pastor full-time.
Ah, okay. Awesome. So you've been there for a minute. You know the church. You've been involved in ministry for 3 years. Kind of got it going. So you've done an excellent job there. I've gotten to watch you over the last couple of years. It's been really excited to see just your ministry grow. But, hey, we'd love to, we know you, but some people listening may not. So we would love for you guys just to take a moment, tell us kind of who you are, where you're from, and how'd you get to where you're at now?
Yeah. So we are both from Arkadelphia, Arkansas, a really small town that has 2 universities in it. And we both grew up in Christian homes and grew up in church. And I didn't continue with the faith for my entire upbringing. And when I was in high school and then on into college, kind of forsook following Jesus for pleasure and for partying and for all those things. And we had actually met in high school and started dating.
So y'all were high school sweethearts.
High school sweethearts, that's right. And then I screwed it up. I messed that up. Rebecca's a good, faithful Jesus follower, and so when I stopped being one, well, she didn't necessarily break it off, but it was definitely not going to continue. And so we broke up a couple times, but once God drew me into himself in college, my junior year, we got back together and ended up getting married, and we moved to Waco, Texas, where we are now, so that I could go to seminary at Baylor, and then knew we wanted to do college ministry. There was one college ministry job available, and we got it, and that was a blessing, and it turned into a full-time college pastor role that we've been in for 3 years, and we've seen God just do some cool things through our church and through our ministry, and we've been well taken care of, poured into. God's done some really cool things in our marriage, in our ministry here, and then we also have a almost 2-year-old son named Shepherd, who is the most popular kid in Waco. And so he's objectively cute. And so yeah, I mean, that's a quick summary of us.
So y'all grew up in Arkadelphia, and you said there's 2 universities there. Is it, what university? Is it Ouachita?
Yeah, Ouachita Baptist University and Henderson State University. They're massive rivals. And I went to Henderson, and Rebecca went to that other school.
All right. So, and then you went pagan. When was that? Did you say that was high school or college?
Yeah, like senior year of high school, all the way up to about junior year of college.
Wait, and the whole time y'all were still dating?
No, that was the time when we were not dating.
Okay, you weren't dating. So, Rebecca, did you feel like Justin was going to come back around, or did you just give up hope during that time?
I think it went back and forth there at different times. I think ultimately I thought he would in the end, but there were a lot of rough patches in between.
We had a lot of conversations once I started following Jesus my junior year. I had to go through a really rigorous interview process with her before this was going to happen again.
That's awesome. You had to get your life together, man. I totally understand it. Oh, that's great.
Wow. So what's y'all's experience like living in Waco? Like a lot of people go there just to go to Magnolia and
Which
see
has
everything.
not always been the case.
Yeah.
It was like the weirdo capital of Texas for a long time until recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's it like being a local there?
Man, it is weird. Mitch, you're right. It's changed a ton. When we moved here, the only thing I knew about Waco was David Koresh, and RG3 had just won the Heisman. So Baylor football was doing well, but then of course all that stopped abruptly and horrifically. But it was not really like the town wasn't that lively. It was just kind of a normal college town. Had a kind of not dying, but definitely not flourishing downtown and stuff like that. And I don't know when Fixer Upper started, but since we have lived here, it has gone from that kind of a town to a massive tourist attraction. And so we never thought we'd be moving to a tourist town, but I get like where with local in big cities and stuff like that, where the locals really just don't like the tourists. I like all the tourists. I love all the tourists, but I totally get why people might not.
Yeah.
It's a fun experience though. It's good. You should, if you haven't been to Magnolia, yeah, sure, you should go. I'll be nice.
You know, I feel like the Baylor football and kind of Chip and Joanna, that kind of all came to a head at the same time that kind of really put a spotlight on Waco and made it a destination. Waco was always a pit stop down 35. Now it's a destination spot.
Yeah, that's right.
Me and Olivia, we were looking at some Airbnbs out there. We were going to stay there at one point. We found some good ones. We didn't end up going, so I forgot what happened. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, it's growing, man. A lot of young adults pouring in.
So tell us a little bit about your time at Columbus. Like, how did you when you walked in that ministry? What was it like? What has the last 3 years been like for you in that involved in that y'all been like involved in that ministry?
Yeah. So when we first got to Columbus, I was hired by the person at the time who was the college pastor, and he had told me that, and we'd come to find out that this ministry, Columbus Avenue, had a thriving college ministry. Probably, I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess one of the largest college ministries in the nation, in somewhere around the 70s and 80s. And it had just dwindled and dwindled and dwindled along with the entire church. And when we got there, I mean, we're talking like 15 to 20 college students in a basement, and not much life and not much hope. Nobody really had any kind of energy or excitement about much of anything going on at the church, let alone college ministry or reaching college students. It was a very come to us model, if you know what I mean. They're just kind of people sitting around wondering why college students didn't want to come to this church anymore. And so when we ended up, when I became full time, we kind of, in a way, replanted the college ministry. We changed everything. I talked to our leadership at our church and to the college students and stuff and said, hey, this is what I want to do. We renamed the college ministry. We changed the logo. We did all of that stuff, and I said, we're going to no longer be a come to us ministry. We're going to be a we go to them ministry, and we call it incarnational ministry. We want to meet students where they are, both spiritually and physically. And so we took a group of 15 student leaders and pitched this new vision to them, and it was one that was going to cost them a lot. It was going to cost them a lot of time and effort. It was going to be a high demand on them. Something that they had never really, these things had not been expected of them to this point. And I was expecting to get a lot of pushback. I was expecting to get a lot of no's and for leaders to quit or whatever. And the opposite happens. They all jumped on board immediately. They were pumped up. They were excited. And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And then when that August came, we hit campus and we tried to reach as many freshmen as we could, to reach as many non-Christian students, to unchurched students. And we ended up in the past 3 years tripling in size. We went from, 7 community groups, which is our like kind of small groups where they operate kind of like missional communities. We had 26 at its highest number last year, and we're about 30, 45 students involved to 150, 200 students involved, depending on what we're talking about. And so yeah, we've just seen a lot of cool things. We've gotten to baptize a lot of college students. We've had college students who we've baptized other college students. It's just been a really cool move of God that we've gotten to see at this church, and it's been fun to be a part of.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great, man.
Cool. So what led you guys to this point of joining Redeemer to plant?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we, and I'm assuming Rebecca, really didn't know much about church planting when we started ministry. There wasn't really on my radar. I knew I wanted to do college ministry because I was discipled by a college minister and a college student. And so I knew college was what I wanted to do. But as far as church planting, or especially collegiate church planting, never heard of it. And a guy that I know who was both of ours, old youth minister, was planting a church with the Salt Company up in Iowa. And he's now in Lawrence, Kansas, and where KU is. And he invited us to this thing called Hitchhikers. And when we went up to Cornerstone and got to learn and got to see, and we met people like Brian Fry and Chase Abner and a couple others, and heard the story of this thing called collegiate church planting. And through that, meeting other people involved in stuff, Rebecca and I were just kind of sitting there at Hitchhikers, and she kind of leaned over to me and said, we could do that. And Rebecca, as I've told everybody, when Rebecca says that that's a possibility, that probably is God calling us to do something.
Yeah.
And so she's got that listening ear. She doesn't know she has, but she's got that intuitive spirit about her. And so she said, we could do that. And so I thought that we may be doing it with them. I thought we may be going at that moment. And it was just this crazy thing. Turns out that's not what God had for us. And we felt very strongly that God was calling us to stay in Waco and to that at this point, we had not replanted our college ministry. And so we said, you know what, we're going to stay at Columbus Avenue, and we're gonna work on this college ministry. But the idea of church planting is on the back of our minds, and the conversation had kept going for a while. And then, what was it? It seems like 100 years ago now because of COVID. But February, I get a text message from this really awesome dude named Mitch Tidwell. He just said, "Hey man, have you ever thought about church planting?" And I was like, yeah. And so then he connected us with Redeemer, and the guys at Redeemer, we kept talking, and it became very clear that God was up to something. The authenticity of Dusty Thompson and Spencer Stringer, some of the leadership at Redeemer, it just became very clear this would be a group of people that we would love to be a part of, a body that we would love to be a part of. But then also I looped, and this is probably my favorite part of the story right now, I looped our pastor in at Columbus Avenue very early and said, hey, listen, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is a possibility here. What do you think? And immediately this dude was like, let's send you, let's partner with them. Let's do this church planting thing together. We had these ideal scenarios in our head that we would be able to transition somebody in while I'm transitioning out, and then sending us and partnering with Columbus Avenue long term. And without even knowing that that's what we had in mind, our pastor, Josh, started outlining these things and just saying all the ideal things that he could have said. And it just became very clear that God was up to something. And so, yeah, when we got through the process of pre-assessment and all that stuff and decided, you know what, Redeemer said, we want to go with Justin and Rebecca. And we said, we want to go with Redeemer. Yeah. And we just, became very obvious to us that this is what God's calling us to do.
Man, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that text message I sent you in February, I think you and I had talked, and then I had talked to Redeemer, and so it's not like I'm sending those messages out to everybody all the time.
I figured I was like your 11th person. Or something.
No, definitely not, man, definitely not. So, I see my role here is to shake the bushes to find, hey, where are potential church planters? But so that was, man, honored to be just involved in y'all's story. Hey, Rebecca, I want to ask you a question. As you guys were sitting there at Hitchhikers, kind of listening to all that, I guess what made you feel like, lean over to Justin and say, hey, I think we can do this? What made you feel that way?
I think just knowing Justin and his passion for students and his passion for discipling them and then like sending them out, but also how he is able to cast vision, get a vision, cast it to other people, and just like really mobilize people. Mm-hmm. I just really thought this is a role that he would really thrive in. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, that was a really terrifying statement for me to say to him, but
still is.
But yeah, so I think I could just see like, wow, he would thrive in this position. I could really see God use him in this position in big ways.
So, from that moment that you lean over to him and you say, hey, I think this is something we could do, till like now that you guys, just this last Sunday, you were at Redeemer, brought you up on stage, presented you before the church. How's all that sitting now?
It's good. I will say, even at the beginning of talking with Redeemer, I've had hesitations. I'm a nervous worrier type person. That's my personality. And so I've had hesitations, but, as Justin was saying, we've just had so many things throughout the process that have affirmed us. A lot of that coming from our pastor being like, yes, let's do this, let's partner. And then even just as we've told friends and family, there's just been so many different things that have been affirming to us. And I've been praying since February, I guess, when we got that text. I've just been praying, like, Lord, we want to see you work in the little things, the details and all that. And we've really seen that in lots of different ways. So
Justin is worried about God working in the big vision, and you're like, Lord, you supply me with these small details, please.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm like, it'll work out. It'll be great. She's like, you got to think about this. You got to think about this. That's why we're a good team.
That's exactly so. Very similar to my wife and I. That I'm usually, in fact, early on in our marriage, I would have these big dreams, and she's like poking holes in it. I'm like, oh, you're killing me here. And then I'm like, no, I need that. Like, I really need that. Because I'll get myself in some trouble. Oh, man, that's awesome.
So what are you guys most excited for?
Man, that's a good question. We're most excited for?
I will say after this weekend, one thing that I'm excited about is I think we're going to be poured into a lot over the next 2 years in that residency program. Mm-hmm. And I think that will be really good for us as individuals, but also for our marriage. Yeah. Before we are sent out. So I'm really looking forward to that pouring into that, really intentional pouring into.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that's really big for us is that we love, and we do it all the time, to disciple others and to pour into others, but we love and relish the opportunity to get poured into by, not just, older and wiser church planters, but just more mature Christians, and just grow in our faith. I think one of the other things that we're both excited about is seeing God move in ways that only He can. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of lack of security. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of what ifs that come with church planting and church planting and support raising in COVID culture. And we don't know where we're going yet after we're in Lubbock for 2 years. There's a lot of unknowns that we have in our process right now. And we're really excited to see God move in ways like he already has that we could have only dreamed of, or maybe even that we couldn't have even dreamed of. We just know that God's going to do something big, and I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I'm excited to see it.
Hey, what do you guys, so for someone out there that's listening, that it's like, that maybe is a college pastor, and it's like, well, why plant, if you plant a church and there's a lot of other things to worry about, you could just be a college pastor and focus on students. So why, and you've already spoken on this a little bit, but I'd love to kind of hone in on, like, why do this whole collegiate church planting route? Like, what attracts you to this versus staying where you're in a successful college ministry, things are growing and they're going well? Why make that shift?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think for us, I think it would be in many respects very easy to stay at Columbus Avenue. It's a good church. We have like family there. Like we have people who take care of us, and college students that mean a ton to us, and we could thrive there for the long haul. And like you said, like our ministry's going well and stuff. But sometimes I think, and this may not be the most practical answer, but sometimes I think you just feel compelled to go with what God is calling you to do, and that's going to require you leaving those easy situations. It's going to require you leaving the comfort of, call it success, or a lot of knowns, and having all your needs met, or at least all your needs guaranteed. Mm-hmm. It's for us, this came about because, like, you texted me, you know what I mean? Like, this was not something that we were planning on happening. This is not something that we foresaw, but when we considered it and when we prayed about it and we thought, okay, so this could be what God is calling us to next. The thing for us was, though we didn't foresee it, though we didn't know it was going to happen, we have made sure, and we've talked about this as a family several times, is that our yes is on the table for whatever God calls us to. And that's not because we're just ultra spiritual or anything like that. It's just because we know God to be a good God, and we trust him, and we know that whatever he's calling us to, no matter the unknowns, no matter the insecurity, is going to be the right thing. And so we wanted to have that, like, that preemptive obedience is what I call it, that yes is on the table no matter what. And then when this happened, when you texted me and when we started talking to Redeemer, and it just became very clear that this is what we were supposed to do, you just can't say no. I guess you could, but nothing would be right anymore if we were to have said no. We just needed to say yes to this, even with all the questions and stuff. As far as, like, why a college minister listening to this may want to consider church planting, collegiate church planting, man, like, I don't have to convince anybody of this on listening to this podcast, I don't think. But the unique need and the unique potential of reaching college students on a college campus it's just hard to beat, man. I don't want to say it's the most important kind of ministry in the world, but to me it is. And so it's just there's nothing like being able to reach a group of the most influential people of the world's future in the foremost formative years of their life with the gospel, and to see them sent out, for many of them, like, for free. Like, we're going to get to make disciples of college students, and they're going to become doctors, lawyers, whatever, and accountants, and some accounting firm's going to take them to, DFW, let's say, and they're going to be disciple makers in DFW. I didn't have to pay to send that missionary to DFW. Mm-hmm. Some accounting firm did. Mm-hmm. So, like, the cool, the unique potential that there is in college students is just something that I can't get over. I'm very passionate about, and the opportunity to have a church that is not just for college students, but that is focused on reaching the college students and is planted in a particular place in order to reach the campus. There's I keep using the word potential, but that's the only word I can think of. There's this massive untapped potential there. Just something that's super exciting to us.
Yeah, I love to hear. For me, like you said, the audience that we have for this podcast, you probably don't have to argue for why of reaching college students. It seems pretty practical, but I think one of the things that you said is just feeling that call and obedience, to the Lord to follow what He wants from me, and that's obviously that's what anybody who's going to plant a church needs, because that's what ultimately sustains. So that's really sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's sweet. So you guys said you just have a lot of unknowns, and you're moving, and you don't know where you'll go after that. So what else? Like, what are you guys nervous about, and how are you dealing with that?
So neither one of us has ever support raised before, and that is a requirement in church planting. Mm-hmm. We will be utterly dependent on God to provide through the generosity of others. And I don't have any experience with that. I know a lot of people listening to this probably do, but that's not something that we've done or even really know much about at this point. We haven't gone through like the necessary trainings yet. We will, and we will be thoroughly trained, and it's going to work out. But so that's something that I think we're both nervous about. Yep. Of course, we'd be lying if we were saying that we weren't. I mean, I think I'd also be lying. Redeemer Network knows what they're doing. They're the experts, man, and we're well taken care of there and stuff. But, sometimes church plants don't work, and that's a reality. And so I don't necessarily want to call it like a fear of failure, but like it's not as steady. I know, at least we all thought we knew, and coronavirus has exposed a lot of our idols and stuff. But we all thought we knew that the church I'm at right now is going to last for 100 more years, and the college ministry is going to last for 100 more years and stuff. At least we get that feeling, where this is like, well, we don't know how this is going to go. We don't know if this is going to work or not. And so yeah, that's some. And again, we have faith, but we don't want to. It would be dishonest for us to think like these kinds of, call them doubts or concerns or nerves, don't exist. Do you have anything else? Those are mine. Yeah.
All right. So last question we have for you guys here, unless another question kind of comes up in the middle of this answer. But, if you guys could just kind of wave a magic wand and kind of paint a picture of what this all looks like in 10 years, what do you guys hope to see and accomplish and see the Lord do through planning?
Man, yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, I'm a simple dude. In fact, when we were at Lubbock, me and some of the leadership at Redeemer had talked about this. It's like, what's your dream? What's going on? And honestly, man, like, I don't know if this is too simple, but I simply just want to see people come to Jesus and be trained to lead other people to Jesus. Like, I just want to see a disciple-making movement, and I don't use that word. I don't want to like sound arrogant, or I don't want to throw the word movement around flippantly, but what I mean is I just want to see people multiplied. I want to see disciples made, and them making disciples who are making disciples. And if we can see that go around the world, if we can see a city changed, a culture changed, and stuff by the grace of God, that'll be amazing. But honestly, man, if one person comes to Christ and a missionary is if we don't plant a church but we plant one missionary, then it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. That's not the goal, but that's worth it. We just want to see lost people come to Jesus and help other lost people come to Jesus.
Well, this has been really. Oh, by the way, I guess one last question: is there any, as far as campuses that Redeemer is looking at, or you guys looking at? Is there any specific areas that you guys are considering, or is that all just still for later?
It's mostly all for later right now. We are starting that process. We've had a few conversations with folks at Redeemer. We are praying through it. In fact, I spent my entire morning this morning looking at a map, praying through it. But no, we don't really have any real leads. We just know that we want to go to a university where we can not just college students, but where we can reach college students and that's about it, man. We really don't. Like I said, I was joking this weekend. Somebody was asking us a bunch of questions about the church plant and all that stuff, and it's just a lot of I don't knows. And and I eventually said, listen, I don't know any of the answers to your question. I can tell you what I do know about our church plant. I know that we're coming to Redeemer, and that's about all I know.
Yeah.
That's all I know about it so far. It will be a collegiate church plant, but that's about all we know.
That's awesome, man. Well, super exciting. I don't know if you noticed, but we did put up on our sbtexas.com/collegiate. We put a map up of all.
Did see that
4-year public, private, and 2-year schools on there. So
that's awesome, man.
Take a look at it. Tell me what you think. I'd love to get some feedback. We mainly want to put that up there just to highlight those schools for churches that are wanting to engage. We got a bunch of demographic info on there, so I would love your feedback on that. Well, Justin and Rebecca, man, thank you guys so much for being on. This has really been awesome and really just inspiring to see what God has done through y'all's life and your ministry there in Waco, and how he's sending you to Lubbock to ultimately send you out to lead a plant and to reach what I believe, and I know you guys believe, is the most strategic generation on the face of this planet. So we're cheering you guys on, man. We're thankful for you, and we're looking forward to having another one of these shows next year to kind of catch up with you guys. And by the way, is it a 2-year residency?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll look forward to getting together with you guys next year to get a follow-up. So appreciate you guys being on.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you having us. Hey, I wanted to point out, just because she's awesome. I know this is not going to air today. Yeah. But as we're recording this, today is Rebecca's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Rebecca.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
So, Justin, what are you doing for her?
I got her on this podcast.
Oh, bro, you're gonna have to do more.
It's been a dream of hers, and
oh god.
No, we're having dinner with some friends and stuff, and we've got a dessert going and all that stuff. We've got plans for tonight.
So if you're going out for a birthday dinner in Waco, where are you going?
Well, we're picking up to go picnic.
Yeah, we're going to a friend's backyard.
Yeah. Where would you go if everything was open and
where
back
would you
to normal?
go? Oh, I know.
The same place.
Well, yeah, the same place we're going to be picking up food. Yes. Yeah. There's an Italian place in Waco called Barris.
So good.
It is so good. I believe, I don't know this for a fact, I believe the owner of it is actually from Sicily. I think
that's the rumor going around.
that's the rumor, and it's an awesome place. So if you're ever in Waco,
and so cheap,
all you Magnolia tourists, you should go to Barris and spend your money there. It's great.
So like Paris, but like with a B.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, okay. That's good to know, because usually going through Waco, you just kind of stop just whatever's right off. Is it right off of 35, or where's it at? Where's it tucked away?
No. It's a little bit off the way. It's
on Valley Mills.
Yeah, you take the Valley Mills exit and then just keep going down Valley Mills. It's on your left. I don't know, a couple miles down.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, Rebecca, happy birthday. We're honored that you would spend your birthday with us.
I'm honored to be able to.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. And folks, thanks for listening to the Roundup podcast. Feel free to like, subscribe, review the podcast on Apple or on Spotify. We're on all major platforms. We'd love to hear from you and how you're listening and enjoying the podcast. Also, follow us on social media at SBTC Collegiate. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And don't forget, we have a Facebook group called Roundup Network. You can join that group. That puts you into a group of about 250 leaders across the state of Texas. It's for idea sharing, collaboration on how we can do college ministry better. But thank you for joining in, and we'll see you next time.